Jesus. Mr. Atimile, you're welcome. Mr. Aidele, you're welcome. We'll be starting very, very soon. So let's wait for like few minutes. So we'll be starting in class by 2:05. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
No.
Okay. We are welcome. I think we are going to start the class right away. For the sake of our time, I know our time are very precious to us, and even me, my time is very precious to me. So others will join us as we move on. So today we'll be looking at something very, very, very important, and I need to tell us that it's something very simple, but can look a little bit clumsy. But I would want you to just follow through. Just follow through. Um, as I'm explaining, if you get lost, do well to quickly call me back. Do well to quickly call me back, so that I can explain better. But before we start today, the assignment I gave to us, so I would like to get reports from each person. Mr. Edele, so how far did with the assignment?
Yes, I was able to study through the what you call the material. So I think I was able to get some information. but I'm even working on a personal project.
Okay, are you working on personal projects?
Yes, but it's
Wow.
just a basic one though, just a basic personal project.
Don't worry, can you share with us? What's the project about?
Just a basic one though, just a basic one, and I was able to publish it.
Oh, wow, wow. Like, is it a desktop app or console app?
No, what's it called? Android APK.
Okay, wow. That's, whoa. Should I say, my shoulder is, is being raised. Wow, I'm very happy. So you started. That's great. That's great.
Yes.
So from the readings you did last week, is there any question from any aspect from OOP?
Yes, I have a question, but I'm not really sure. I don't know the meaning of OOM. I think object oriented and
Okay, is it ORM, Abi?
no, it is OOM. I saw it
O
somewhere.
OOM.
Yes. Let me just from my notes so that it's like I jotted it down.
Okay, okay. Mr. Atimilayin, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Good
Okay,
afternoon.
okay. Good afternoon. So while I'm waiting for Mr. Edele, can you share with us how was the assignment from your end?
The site was actually good. It was self-explanatory. Like I really get a lot from the material.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
great.
it helped to improve my knowledge on OOP.
Okay, okay. That's great. So the you'll be finishing the whole course for introduction to C# by this time next week. Next week, this time will be our last class. And what we'll be having next week will just be discussion. We'll have full house then. Mr. Timidayo should be online. The person who took us Git the first day. Then Mr. Software will be around. So we'll be discussing as engineers, and we'll be discussing on the way forward after this boot camp. So you also mentioned the other day that you'll be interested in the mobile and the web. So which one do you want to start with first?
Okay. I will start with the web.
Okay, okay, okay. That would be great. That would be great. That would be great. I'm so excited. So we'll be discussing all that from by Wednesday, so that we can see how we can monitor the progress and expose you to the necessary materials and necessary trainings, and also follow you up. So since there are no questions from the assignment I gave, and everybody seems to understand, although Mr. Adele will get back to us later on the aspect he wants more clarification on. So straight up, we'll go into what we are doing today. We are doing delegate and events. And like I said, it's a very, very clumsy aspect of programming. It's very, very simple and straightforward. But when I start explaining, please just do it to follow through. Just do it to follow through. It's an aspect of C# that I once ran away from, but there's no way you can run away from it if you want to write efficient code. If you want to write an application that won't burn your CPU. You understand? So we can, maybe Mr. Timley or Mr. Adele can you can embark on the project together. You may achieve it, but one person's solution may tend to work faster and smarter than the other person. So in such situations, so for production code, it's good we write efficient code. So many of things we'll be discussing. Don't just say I have a better way I can go about it, and you want to corner and just solve it. No, programming is beyond just solving it. It's solving it right. So we're going into delegates and events. So I'll be sharing my screen with you guys. So Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So what is delegate? What is delegate? Delegate is a function. It is more like is a pointer. Let me look for the right word to use now. Take for instance, you have so many methods, and you want those methods to be called with just a single call. Let me come again. You have so many methods. We understand what methods are. We have so many methods or functions now, and you want those methods to be called with just a particular pointer. So a delegate is being called a reference pointer. It has a point, it has a reference to the address of various methods. So now, let me cite some example. If you look at this class, name manipulator, this is a class, we are familiar with this. Then this is a method, and this is also a method as it is. Now, I want to be able to call this method with just a single name, with just a single pointer. So now that's this concept of delegate. Now, how do you create a delegate? As you can see on the screen, this is a delegate now. This is a delegate. And what makes it differ from other declarations is, as you can see here, we are familiar with this public, this is an access modifier. Then this delegate is what gives it that definition. So the delegate defines the signature of the methods. What I mean by that is it tells the return type, and it also tells about the parameters that the methods must adopt. So as you can see, this method now, it returns string also. This one also returns string. And if you look at the attributes, the parameters inside, they also pick in 2 attributes and they are all string. So if you look at it with this delegate now, the delegate is being structured in the same signature. That's what we mean by that. It gives the signature of the method. So it defines it. So it has a name also. So in this case now, we created a delegate called user details. We create a delegate called user details. And how do you make use of it? So let's go to our main implementation. So now, just take a look at this section of the program. Now, you understand this line, console write line, blah, 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 print, please enter your name. That's what it does. Then this collects it and store it inside first name. Then this also collects last name. Now, what I've done here is I just created an instance of that class. That's just all. I created an instance of that class. Now, come and see how I made use of the delegates now. Now, you know the delegate is user details. Now, just like the way when you create a class, normally if you create a class, look at this case now. We created an object from that class and we named that object inst. But in this case now, when we are making use of a delegate now, just like the same way, but you don't necessarily have to say new. No, it's not a class. Delegate is not a class. But as you can see now, I pointed this delegate to this method. As you can see, extract initials is a method inside class name instructor. What we have here is a method inside there. So I pointed that delegate, I pointed it to this. Now, I also pointed the other method also. I also pointed it to it also. So what it's going to do is that it's going to invoke those methods. It's going to invoke those methods. And as you can see, the implementation. So what I did here, you can also write it this way. This is just another way of writing it. You can either write it this way, using equal to, or if you already have it declared here, you can just add this to it also. So now with this deleg now, deleg has a pointer to this method and also this method. So now what it does is you can now use that deleg in place of the method. You know, normally we're supposed to say maybe extract initials, then we put the variables inside. No, what we've done here is we've only invoked the method now. We've not used them. So we now use the delegate to implement the method. We use the delegate to implement the method. So that's the concept of delegate. So I will also come again and wait for our responses. Now, what is delegate? Delegate is a type that defines a method signature. So, and you can use it to invoke as many methods you've added to it, as many methods you've added to the delegate. So now, this is how you create a delegate. Now, when we start discussing events, you will now see more, more reasons. You will see why we actually need a delegate. You see why we actually need a delegate. So, so you declare a delegate using this. So, like I said, it's a signature. So it defines how your method will look like. So delegate is used to invoke methods. So, but when you are defining your delegate, it must carry the signature of the method also, which is the return type, the number of parameters, and the data type of the parameters that your method will be considering. So now, and how do you make use of a delegate, and how do you add methods? How do you add methods to delegate? So we saw that implementation here. So we need to first create an instance of that class, so that, as you can see, the delegate is not even staying inside the class. So delegate is another powerful thing entirely. So it's not even staying inside the class. So now, the reason why we have to create an instance is so that we can add that method to that delegate. So now, this now declares the delegates, just like when you declare integer a, then you now equate it to maybe 4. You know, int a equals 4 now. What you have done is you are telling a to receive a format of int, a format of integer. Just the same thing there now. You've created a delegate called deleg. Now you are telling that whatsoever that will be equated and stored inside the leg should have the data, the signature of user details, which is a delegate. And what is the signature? It has a return type of string, and it has two parameters, and the parameters are strings. So that was the definition we gave to it. So this does that. And the other way we can also invoke a method. So now also can also use this also. Can also use this also. You can use the plus sign. So it adds it to it also. So I can call I can now use the delegate to implement the function. So there are reasons why we need to learn delegates. There are reasons. So when we start events, you will now know why we need to. So I just want us to understand how to declare it and what it does. So use it to invoke methods. Use it to invoke methods, and those methods must carry the same signature as the delegate. So is there any question at this point? Okay, Miss Goodness, you're welcome. So any question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please, with the plus equals sign that you used in the second delegate.
Yes.
Yeah. Does it mean that we can add as many as possible methods to the particular delegate? Like, can we add more than 2 methods to the delegate?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But when you are now calling those when you are now calling those you are now trying to make use of the methods that have been assigned to it, there is a way it works.
Okay.
Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
And there's a way it works. There's a way it works. So take for example, I want us to play around some examples. Let's just play with what we have presently so that we can further understand. So now, if I run this application now, so we can just take a look to try and understand what it's trying to do so that you won't be confused when you see the output. So this line will just collect the username, collect the first name, collect the last name. Then this is an instantiation, this is created an object. Then the delegates now, I've pointed it to two methods. I pointed it to two methods, and I'm calling it at this point. I'm putting it at this point. So let me run it and see our output. Then I'm printing out whatsoever. So whatsoever, it has a return type of string. So I created a static string here so that it can also store the output there. Or let me just print it directly. Let me delete this and then let me cut this. X. Okay. Okay. So let me run it. So it's still compiling. So Miss Goodness, what's up? How was the assignment?
It was fine. I was able to read through some of it, but
Okay.
I was able to practice it because I was not able to work on my laptop.
Okay, wait, are you eating?
Yes.
Should we come and eat?
Let me know if you can.
Thank you. So you were able to practice, right?
No, I told you that my laptop, I was not, my laptop is faulty,
Okay.
so I've not on it since. So I'm using my phone currently for the meeting.
Okay.
But I was able to read through some.
Okay. No problem. So so you look at our output now. Let me share the screen with us. Okay. So you cannot see the output, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's asking for my surname and asking for my last name. Then it returns the two. It returns the combination of the two. Now, someone will ask me that how is it going to execute if we are pointing two methods to it? I don't even understand. If we are pointing two methods to it, how will it know the one to execute? Aha. So now this is where we now need to be very smart. And if you can now start looking at the application now. Now, if you study the program very well, you can see where I put the print. Now, let me go and show us what the two methods does. You know, we have two methods here, the extract initials and concatenate name. So according to the method we have here, the extract initials will remove the first name and the first character for the first name and the first character for the last name also. And we add them together. So let me put a space here. Okay, so it will do that. So, but when we run this program now, it only printed out the concatenate. The reason for that is now when we pointed the method to it at this point now, it it now recognizes this as what it should implement here now. So now let me copy this now. Let me copy this and also put it at this point. You will realize that at this point, it will print out the initials. At this point, it will print out the concatenate. So you can see the strength of delegates. You pointed it to it, it recognizes it, but at the point of calling it, it only recognizes the latest one. So let me run it again and let's see our output. So I will do that now. Okay, so it's out. Let me share the screen with us. Okay, so let me enter the name. Okay, and the last name. Okay, so as you can see now, it's printed the two out. So do you understand the logic now? Hello, are you with me?
No.
Okay, I should explain again.
Yes, sir. That would be very okay.
Okay. Now, I want you to look at the output very well. You understand what it did, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go and look at the code. Okay, now, this actually collects our input. This created an instance for us. Now, at this point now, we pointed a particular method to this delegate. Now, we now use the delegate that the delegate now that we've created. We called it and we inserted the first name and the last name. Now, it at this point recognizes only this method being pointed to it, extract initials, which is this. Now, after that time, we now went further and now added another fresh method to it, concatenate name, and now made use of the delegate again at this point now. So at this point, it only knew this one, but at this point, it recognizes this one because this is the latest one. So it ran this for this, and it ran this for this, using the same name. So just get the concept. We'll start seeing the application in our event. So do you understand now?
Yes.
Okay. So now that's how to declare a delegate. And so the principle at which it works, it does not work like a variable. Is a pointer. They call it is a reference pointer. Is a reference pointer. And there are some data types like that they are not just variables. Now, maybe when you declare int, I want to tell you something that is very, very shocking. If you declare int a to be 4, a will be pointed to the value called 4. But if you declare string a to be maybe your name, string will not be pointed, will not be storing the value in its memory. No, string will be pointing to the memory address of that particular variable. So when a variable or a type is just like that, when it's a reference type, it has some dynamism much more than when it's actually storing the variable itself. So that's what it's doing, is a point reference. So it's actually pointing to those methods, pointing to the address. It's pointing to the address of those methods, and it can point to as many methods. So that's the strength of delegate. It can point to as many methods. So maybe at a particular point you want to run a particular method, at another particular point you want to run another method, and you don't want to start doing some manipulation on that. Just create a delegate, point them to it at the point you want to use them. So let's quickly rush to the bogus one. So let me comment this out. So when I push the code, so you'll be the one to uncomment it and check it out yourself. So we have 10 minutes left. So let me use that to introduce event. Let me commented this out. Coming. So let's start events. So event applies delegates, and it's very, very powerful. So yeah, I'll come to event. So now, have you thought of, for those that have been already familiar with some activities on the UI UX aspect of Visual Studio? Now, when you click a button, it's an event. When you click a button, that's an event. And when such event happens, now you can write instructions on what is to be done. Maybe if you click on this, add this, just like the example I gave to us. That day I showed us the project on a window app. So we'll still do all that next on Saturday. So now that's an event. You click on something, that's an event, and maybe you want to run some activities due to that event. You can now invoke some methods based on that. So that brings us to when you're talking about events now, there's what we call publisher and there's what we call subscriber. Now, what creates your event? Now, what creates your event? What creates those events is called a publisher, and the actions that are taken as a result of the event, they are called subscriber. So the publisher publishes an event, it raises an event, and there are responses that comes with it. So let me take us through just some basics here. So we understand this line. We actually want to collect the name, and we are storing the name here. And you understand what is here. I'm just creating an instance. This is another instance created here. This is another instance created here. So now let me take us to the publisher now. That is, the publisher at this point is the customer manager. Now let me explain what this application is going to do. Now, the reason for event is this. Now, I'm designing just like that my hotel software that I showed you guys the other day. Now, a new customer comes in, and the customer's details is being stored into the database. And when all the details have been collected, we want to issue the person receipt, and we want to assign a room to the person. So there is a section of collection of the person's details, storing the person's details. There's an aspect of issuing receipts, and there's an aspect of assigning room. So let me show us the aspect of collecting the customers' details. So I created a class called customer manager. So now, if you can read what is on the screen, let me read it out. Here's a comment. Delegate defines the nature of the event handler, the nature of the method in the subscriber that will be called. So that was what we just did in our delegate. Now the delegate defines the signature of the method that will be called. So the method that will be called when an event is being raised, what is their nature? Their nature will be defined by the signature of the delegate now. So now, as you can see now, this is the delegate now. This is delegate. Just the same thing with what we just finished. This is the delegate. Now, this one does not return anything. That's void. Now, this is the name I gave the delegate. Register customer event handler. register customer event handler. So now at this point, the parameters we are seeing is that don't get shocked. This is just the object, the source now. The source is the class that actually published the event. That means at this point now, the button now will be the source. Take for instance, and the customer event asks, this one just contain all the variables, all the information, data that we would like to send along with the data when the event is being fired. So now, this is how you create an event now. So when you create an event, it must, now a public event, public, you actually understand the meaning of that. Then use the keyword event. Then after it will be the name of the delegate. So at this point now, register customer event handler. So register customer event handler, what will be, you add to it. Then this will now be the name of the event. So now, under this console app now, the event now is register customer. We want to register a particular customer. So now when we are done registering the customer, we want other methods in some places to be fired. So we want it to issue receipt, and we also want it to assign room when it's done registering a particular customer. And this is the method that actually register the customer. So don't get freaked at this. It's just the normal method you are familiar with. This is just void. Then the name of the method. No, I told you they are in a class. So now, and this one is just a thread slip. Just I want the system to pause for 1 second before it does this. So console.writeLine. So it's going to print out, okay, the name of the person was successfully enrolled. So now, when that is done now, we want to raise an event. So as soon as we are done registering this person, we want to raise an event that when we raise this event, it will call two other methods. So now, as you can see now, on customer registered, that's a method I created here. And we're actually passing the name of the customer that's there. We're actually passing it into this place now. So now, when we now call this method, the event is being raised. And when the event is being raised, it notifies the subscriber that, oh, we have registered so customer. And now, how do we implement it? So the first thing now, let me take us, now this is the method. Just look at the method. I will come back and explain how the method works very well. So now, if you can see now, the method says if customer registered. What is customer registered? This, where is it? Coming. Customer registered. Okay, that's our event now. It's asking that is the event null. Now, there's what we call subscription. Now, those methods I want to call, they need to subscribe to that event. So if they don't subscribe to that event, when the event is being raised, they will not be called. So the first thing is to subscribe those methods to the event. So now, how do I subscribe a method to an event? Now, let me show us the event, the method I actually want to run. Look at the receipt issuer. Now, it's just another class I created. So what it just does is just something simple. Just look at it as a method. And this thread slip, I just want it to sleep for 1 second. Then it should just print out receipt has been issued to the customer. That's what it's going to do. Then the room manager also is just the same thing. It's just going to say room has been assigned. So I want to invoke these two methods after creating a new customer. I want to invoke them. So, but before I can invoke them by automatic, that after the event has been raised, I need to subscribe. The method needs to subscribe to that event. And that's what is happening here now. So now what you just did there was that we just created instances of those methods. And we have less than a minute. So when this session is over, let's do it to log in back. So now at this point, this how is the subscriber now. They subscribe, they get registered, they subscribe to that event now. As you can see now, new customer register now. New customer, I just created an object from customer manager. What is customer manager? This is what we have here. And what is customer registered here now. New customer dot customer registered. What is customer registered? Customer registered is the event itself. So with this, as you can see, the plus sign, what we used to during our delegates now. So now with this now, this method has subscribed to this event, and this method also has also subscribed to this event. So this